used the word Dharma before? Other than somebody's name? Has anybody ever asked themselves the question or considered the topic of purpose? Yeah. Why I ended up here. So, to me, it's one of my favorite topics to talk about. I think it's the essence. I'm a yoga teacher, for those of you who don't know that, and to me, what the essence of yoga is all about, connecting with this bigger part of you that it's bigger than this flesh body, and it's ultimately the potential that you came out here to live out. So I like to think of it as your potential, a potential that is there inside all of us, but we're responsible for bringing that potential out. And when sometimes we think about, so some of the stuff that we're going to talk about quickly, because we're going to leave the discussion to a minimum amount of time, is what it means to connect with purpose, or to live with purpose. What it's not, sorry, it's not what is not, but what it's not. Because sometimes people have a limited idea of what it means to live with purpose. And we're also going to talk very quickly about some of the stuff that's standing in our way of actualizing that potential. Make sense? So first, actually, let's start with what is not. When I first kind of approached the word, when I started asking myself questions, to me, it all revolved around like what my calling would be, or what my job would be. It was around my work, and I wanted to connect with something and feel like I had a purpose, and this work was going to help fulfill that purpose. And then I connected with teaching yoga somehow through that. As I started asking those questions, like I started teaching yoga, and I remember saying the words that teaching yoga is my purpose. It's my dharma. Does anybody see where the pitfall is there?
You eliminate yourself?
Yeah. Because what happens if all of a sudden some alien overlords come down and take over the world and ban yoga? It's like, no more yoga. I know it sounds silly, but for some reason, if I'm unable to teach yoga, does that mean I'm unable to fulfill my purpose or live that purpose or that potential? So by limiting it to a calling or a job, I'm limiting myself. We want to go beyond that, the context of everything and those details out there, and define purpose more as your essence. It's like the energy that you came here to be. The essence that when you are living it, when you are being it, when you are connected with it, you know that feeling. Maybe more on an unconscious level sometimes. But it's when you're feeling most inspired, when you're feeling, in the best of states, when you're feeling, like there's something bigger than just the little details driving you. When we talk about motivation, we can go beyond the little motivating factors and what inspires you, what gets you up in the morning and excited about living your life, and in being that, how are you affecting the people around you and inspiring the people around you? Can you recognize that when you're not being who you really are, when you're not being your true self, it's a little draining on your energy and it feels kind of tiring and draining? Like when you have to pretend to be someone you're not or something you're not, how tiring is that? How energy draining, energy out is that? But then to start to live that potential or that essence, that energy in all components of your life. So in your job, in your playtime, in your family life, in your intimacy, in your, in all the different components of your life, can you just be that energy? Anyone have an answer to that? Does anyone kind of have, do you have an idea of what I'm talking about here when I say purpose? Like go beyond the limits of the context and go more into what really matters here and the essence of who you are. And so if I'm already connected to that, if that's already there inside of me, what's keeping me from being happy and being that energy and living that all the time? Fear?
Putting boundaries on yourself?
Putting boundaries on yourself? Yeah. Brilliant. Programming? Programming? Let's just say it one more time. Programming? So, and by programming, and they actually all said the same thing, believe it or not. Because it's your programming that causes you to see things in a fearful way. It's your programming that causes you to put limiting boundaries and beliefs on yourself about what you're capable of and who you really are, and whether you're worthy of success and love and happiness and all that stuff. So it's the programs, it's all this software that we've accumulated, from a very long time ago till now. The programming, many different things can affect your programming. A lot of it starts in your first 6 to 8 years of life. Your first 6 to 8 years, and you're developing, everything you're seeing, everything that you're experiencing is just being recorded and imprinted on your unconscious mind. And a lot of our so-called issues stem from crap that happened in those years, and then compounded over and over. And then the context of them changed. We have bigger problems and bigger issues and all that stuff, but the reactions and the feelings are often the same. The essence of it is often the same. And so, on one level, I am this potential, but then when I drop down into the realm of the nervous system and the ego, then the programs kick in and prevent me from being that inspiring kind of being that I know I am. And so I put all these kind of things that I've accepted from when I was yay high without knowing it. Innocently, I accepted all this stuff, by the way. Innocently, I didn't know any better. I accepted all this stuff, and it's stopped me from recognizing that real potential that I am ever since. And we may have little glimpses of it sometimes here and there, or you may have come to a point in your life where, and some people just do it naturally, where they're living that inspiration on a regular basis. And you can see how it affects the people around them, the people in their community. But even if not, maybe it's just for them, and they're still living that energy on a regular basis. And there's, and sometimes, doing little self-reflection exercises and meditations are going to help us. But first things first is just connecting with the intent that, okay, I want to live this purpose. Just saying that to yourself, writing it down somewhere, setting it as an intention, saying this is something that is, I want to connect with. That's the first thing you want to do. Recognizing and acknowledging and saying, this is an intention I'm setting up. And then, right there, you've planted a very important seed. But now you can nourish with different focus exercises and different kind of things to help nourish that seed and have it now start to play out in your everyday life. Because when you know what that broader perspective is, when you know what it is, okay, it gives you a focal point. And so all of the stuff that happens in life, all the daily stuff that happens in life that often gets us into negative feeling, well, if I have the broader perspective and I know where I'm headed and I know what my main focus is, then I can put all of that into perspective. Okay, where does it fit in with my broader self? Where does this fit in with my broader self? Or if I'm faced with decisions, so here's 2 roads. This is where I want to go. Which road do I take? It's easier to make decisions when you know where your focus is, what your broader perspective is. And because you have a focus there, this bigger picture that's inspiring you, all of the little things that absolutely mean nothing, that usually get to so many people in so many ways, will start to, come out with their true colors and, oh, this doesn't even matter in the bigger picture. This doesn't even matter. This is not even anything to consider. I'm just going to move on and regain my focus on this broader perspective that I'm living. The context of all of it, the details, the way your business is going to look, or the way your job is, or the way that stuff may change over time. Those are the little wants and goals that our nervous system is kind of reaching for. the bigger self, the part of you, the heart, like the real power center, you know, when you're connected with your heart, when you're connected with that energy, you know it, you feel it, you have way more focus, you have way more energy, you can go without burning out. You go 7 days a week when you're passionate about what you're doing and you're inspired and you're living from a bigger energy place. You know, instead of those lower emotions, the negative feeling stuff that drain us all the time. You know, you go, you have a lot of, am I wrong?
No.
This guy, you know, I know this guy for not that long, but I've never known anyone to put so many hours into what he's doing because he believes heavily in it. And he keeps going, he's not burning out. He keeps going stronger, he keeps coming up with new ideas. Every time I talk to him, new ideas, new things going on. Because he has his focus and he's going with all the doubts, all the stuff, all the people that come in the way, all the obstacles. No, this is the focus. Make sense? Okay, so what we're going to do today, Corey's going to help us connect with the subtle body here and get into a meditation that's more heart-centered. And then we're going to do a little self-reflection exercise that you can build on down the road as well. That will help give you some insight. Maybe not today, but you'll leave with it, and you'll have some stuff to kind of let your nervous system deal with for a little bit. But you'll get some insight into a little bit more of what that broader perspective is. Make sense?
Alrighty. Thank you, Mark. So the key thing that you mentioned that I find is so prevalent in things that we need to do more often is firstly that undying energy. Yes, I can relate. But it's a lot different than what you may think it to be if you haven't experienced already, but you have. That's the thing, we all have to some degree. You have when you've been really present with somebody, when you're experiencing an intimate relationship. You have when you've been like doing something that just like enlightens you and gives you that inspiration that he speaks about. It's kind of a very subtle energy that's there. It's not like you know, you get motivated by watching this like motivational video and you get like pumped and you're like ready to go, and then how long does that really last, right? It's this like outer motivation we're constantly looking for. That's the complete opposite of what we need. It's like we need that sustainable, everyday moving towards those goals through that very silent kind of balanced energy, rather than the really high spikes and then you get drained, the high spikes and you get drained, right? So this meditation will help you not only connect with that energy, but connect with, you know, we've talked about this a little bit before, like when you go to China, not everywhere in China, it's very controlled now, but you know, maybe you go to like a monastery or an ashram or something in China where they're more connected with themselves. You ask them, you know, where do you see yourself in your body? And they'll tell you they see themselves out of here in the center. So the center of themselves is here. Versus, you know, in North America, the majority of people will say here, right? I view myself here. I have my senses here. Everything is here, right? But of course, you're not that. So finding that center, and there's various, you know, modalities of finding the center here in your heart, or finding it in like the second brain, which is in your solar plexus. But either work. And this meditation, we're actually going to use our hands to help connect here and do a little bit of breathing exercises and then a visualization of a color. Okay, so I'm going to guide you through that. But first, I'm going to get everyone to stand up.